another art time lapse. Today I'll be doing another painting inspired by Ollie and me, which is part of my series on embracing our inner monster. This one is inspired by a trip to the lake. So as always, I usually start by watering down my acrylic gouache with plenty of water and mixing my gouache in it. So making sure I add on wet to make sure that the entire piece of paper is wet, and then adding a little bit of color to it. Next, once that layer dries, I add on the next layer of gouache, of course adding less and less water to subsequent layers, creating both the watercolor effect in the back and also a little bit more of the acrylic effect, given that acrylics have this characteristic that it has this very opaque color that kind of dries on top without that translucent effect that you get with water. What I'm trying to say is that you really have to be patient with gouache, and gouache can be very flexible in that depending on the amount of water that you add to it, it can have a watercolor effect, or less water can have acrylic effect. So for this Ollie and me picture, I originally did something similar to this, inspired by the embracing your inner monster and your inner demon back in 2021, maybe 2020, when I had my first child. And I am inspired by in the beginning of COVID, where a lot of us would stay indoors at home, a bit more self-isolated. I think we had more time for self-reflection, and for me, I'm more of a baseline, more anxious person, and being kind of in that more self-isolated environment, it just made me more reflective of my inner demons. And I'm pretty judgmental about myself on baseline, I would say. I'm not a perfectionist by any means compared to other people, but like I do have high expectations for myself, and I think that this piece reflects that experience I had in the beginning of COVID, where I was just doing a lot of self-reflection and a lot of self-hate about why am I not doing better when I should really try a lot more or spend more time doing certain things. And after a while, I realized that, you know what, like I'm never going to be perfect, but like I can keep trying, but like don't give myself such a hard time, and need to embrace my inner monster with all these inner demons and voices that tell me that like you should know this, or like how come like you're not trying better, or like all these voices that are telling you you're not good enough. And I think it's enough of us being so hard on ourselves, not only like as a mommy or like an artist, but just as a person in general. Like I think everyone is growing up in a society where we get exposure to so much social media about people's successes, but hardly does it ever show the hard work and the struggle and challenges that people go through. Like that type of stuff just doesn't show up on social media, and so it gives almost a perception that like people get there through like this sheer will and like just natural talent, but like there's so much hard work that goes behind everything. And part of it in this piece is to reflect on these inner monsters that tell us that like people get there without that hard work, and like, or like telling you that you're not good enough, and being comfortable sitting with that inner monster, that inner voice in your head, and say, you know what, like I'm not gonna push you out of my head. I'm not gonna tell you that you can't be there, but I'm gonna learn to live with you. And I think like being able to feel settled and feel at ease despite this contradiction in yourself is difficult, but it's not impossible. And this is what this piece is inspired by. So I've done a couple of Ollie and me already pieces. I don't know if I'm totally set on the name of the two characters, but the idea is that there's a little girl who is enjoying herself, I guess, in lots of different types of scenarios. This one, she's sitting on a boat with a blanket on her, and she's holding on to some flowers, and she's in a peaceful lake full of lilies surrounding her, and there's her inner monster who's sitting on the same little boat with her. The little inner monster, or not so little inner monster here, is a combination of like a bear with 3 eyes and horns that I've been painting over the years, and has been kind of the representation of what I thought would be considered an inner monster and how they would look like. But of course, I think an inner monster can look very different for person to person, but like for the sake of kind of this imagery I'm trying to produce, this is the inner monster that this girl is trying to learn to live with and enjoy. So despite in this being in this like beautiful surreal environment, she's trying to still stay sane and balanced with her inner monster sitting across from her in this boat. I don't know if that was the best way to convey the idea for this piece. I know that words are probably not my strongest suit. That's why I try to express myself a lot with painting, but I guess that's the best I can do to explain the concept behind the painting. You can see, I think at this point, I've probably spent around 4 to 5 hours on the piece at least, just waiting for the water to dry, the paint to dry with each layer, and then adding the next layer on. And again, because of the characteristic of gouache that has similar modality as acrylics, once the paint dries, and you can actually add another layer to make it more opaque, or add another layer on top if you make a mistake, and it can cover up the previous layer because of this opaque characteristic. And I really like that. So you can see as well for gouache, when it dries a little bit darker for lighter colors, and then lighter colors generally dry a little darker. So that's why you can see that the color for this painting kind of changes throughout, because the previous layer, let's say the light blue, once it dries it becomes a bit darker, and the painting just seems to transform throughout this entire process. Now that I finished most of the painting for the background, I am now painting in a little bit more of the main characters and the boat on the inside. To be honest, I really enjoy painting the main characters on the inside, so it's usually my preference to do it first, but I want to focus on the background first to make sure I get it right. That way, if I make any mistake in the background, I can use these characters to cover it up later on. Here I'm using the finest watercolor paintbrush that I have just to color in the outline for the inner monster, the inner demon that this little girl is sitting with. I'm actually going to give him an oar as well so he can row the boat, so to kind of represent that, like, despite kind of like sitting with our inner monster, it is like still trying to help move us and like motivate us, despite the idea that it is a monster or it is an inner demon. It's there for a reason. It's there to motivate us, to help us recognize like the changes we can be, and also like a person that we can become. I feel like there's still some sense of positivity associated with it, but maybe somebody else will have a better way of phrasing that. Feel free to comment below. If you like art time lapses like this, I would love it if you would consider subscribing and sharing this channel. It will really help a lot. So for now, I've actually been doing these art time lapse videos for over a year now on YouTube. I'm not really sure what my ultimate goal is at this point. I've been just doing this for fun, doing it as a record of my journey through my painting process, so you can see my process. And I know that a lot of people have been interested in it and how I paint and how I get to where I get to, but at the same time, like, I want to make sure I don't get too fixated on the views, because I know that that's one thing. In the past, when I first started my Instagram, I was really wanting to increase my reach and my follow, and I know it's not really good for my mental health. So since I guess a year later, I try not to look at my followers and trying to focus on the artwork and the content itself. And same thing, now that I'm hopping onto YouTube, I want to make sure I don't do the same thing on this channel. Of course, I think it's hard because you can't help but see some of the views when I'm uploading the videos, but I also don't want it to be, I know that this is not reflective of how good my art is regardless number of views, but sometimes it's kind of sad when, let's say, you spend like over 48 hours on a painting and you get 2 people looking, but like I think it's still nice having people come by and admire my artwork, and I really do appreciate you guys spending the time to watch this art time lapse with me. Well, here's the final product after, I would say, around 2 weeks, maybe a month now. But this is the Ollie and me inspired by Embracing Your Inner Monster, a trip to the lake. Again, I really want to say I appreciate you taking the time to follow me along on this painting journey, and I look forward to seeing you in future videos. Take care and stay creative, everyone. Bye now.